Hi, this is Chris Dorris. Thanks for coming to my Entheos Academy class, which I've entitled How to Live a Miraculous Life. And I use those words very mindfully because Einstein said the quote, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is." And I choose the latter. I studied astrophysics briefly before I got into coaching. I'm a personal transformation coach now. Before I made the decision to do that, though, I was investigating all the big questions of the universe. And one of the things that I discovered in my studies is that we are part of a perfect operating system. The system that, the organizing intelligence, so to speak, that runs all of this has been having everything unfold for 15 billion years with flawless choreography. There's a great mantra that I like to use, which is, there are no problems in the universe. The only problem is the way that I see it. So we're a part of a big old miracle, which means we are miracles, and we're designed to create miracles. My firm belief is that none of us should be settling for less than life on our terms, or a miraculous life by our definitions. So I put together some 10 big ideas, and I'd like to share them with you on how to get busy upgrading your life. Even if you believe that your life is already fantastic, or if you would label that your life now, exactly as it is, as miraculous already, good, let's make it even more miraculous. Why not? I can't think of a better idea for something to do. So let's get busy. Top 10 big ideas. Big idea number one is you are an incomprehensible improbability. Own that. There's a guy named Ali Benazer who's from Harvard, a mathematician, did some awesome research and some calculations on literally what are the odds of any of us ever occurring as us. And the math is, it's mind-blowing, literally mind-blowing. So imagine this, you give 2 million people dice, or one die, but that one die, instead of having 1 through 6, it's got 1 trillion faces. 1 through 1 trillion. 2 million people have those dice, and they all roll them at the same time. Imagine that every single one of them comes up the same number. That's the odds of you occurring. The number of particles or atoms in the known universe is 10 to the 80th power. That's 10 with 80 zeros after it. Big number, right? The odds of you happening, 1 in 10 to the 2.7 millionth power. There's not a word for that number. We can't even get that number. Our brains can't wrap around that. So virtually what the math is telling us is that the odds of us happening are 0. That we are a mathematical impossibility. Not even an improbability. We're an impossibility. We got in. We won the most unlikely prize ever, life. So here we are. Let's remember that every day. If you could remember that every day, then you would be existing within a state of gratitude and enthusiasm, which is one of my favorite words. Of course, entheos is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is one of the most intelligent states. All of my work, really, you could say, is about coaching people to elevate their state and then go take action and go create miracles. But it has to start internally. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world, right? So whatever's going on in my life is a reflection of what's going on in my mind. We want to really strengthen the way that we use our minds. I refer to myself often as a mental toughness coach. So we're talking about state. If I could remember the fact that I am an incomprehensible improbability or a miracle, then I will be going into all the action that I take in creating my miraculous life in a state of enthusiasm, which would have me turn on. When I'm in an enthused state, I'm activating all the intelligence centers of my brain, and life gets a lot easier when that's how I'm rolling. Okay, let's move along to top 10 or Big idea number 2. Stop. The idea is to stop and ask the question. What question? The question could be articulated in a couple ways. One of my favorite ways to ask the question is, how do you most profoundly want to use the rest of your life? I heard Wayne Dyer phrase it that way one time, and it was instantly etched in my memory. What a great question. The language matters. How do you most profoundly want to use this miracle that you scored into? How do you want to use it so that at the end of your life, you don't have any questions like, Ivan Ilyich, the death of Ivan Ilyich. Leo Tolstoy wrote this great, classic Russian piece of literature called The Death of Ivan Ilyich. Ivan Ilyich is a guy who used his life to create success by conventional definition, which is money and power. Then he gets, he's on his deathbed. Terminally ill is the language I was looking for. And so now he's confronted with his mortality. And therefore he's confronted with the question, was my whole life wrong? So really, it's so critical. How are you going to create your miracle life if you don't know what that is? The other way to phrase the question, and this is how I use it in my coaching sessions, so this makes it easy. If you had your own personal genie, and that genie has infinite powers, and you have infinite wishes, which has always confounded me. Like, why would you only have 3 wishes? The first wish would always be to take the limit off the wishes. So you got infinite wishes. Like, you could rewrite the laws of the universe. What are you asking for? This is a really profound question, and I really encourage people, when you answer this question, force yourself to be unrealistic, impractical, to really consider the impossible. Over the course of our lives, we are conditioned, okay? We're educated about our limitations. That's a good way to put it. We're well educated about our limitations, so our ability to even answer the question, what do I want, has been significantly compromised. So operate from the assumption that your first set of responses to the question, how do you really, really want your life to be? How do you want to be? How do you want to be financially, physically, psychologically, emotionally, socially, professionally, and every other way you could measure? Don't trust your answers. Operate from the assumption that your first response is weak, and see if you can upgrade that, because your first response is likely gone, not likely, it has come through the filter of the conditioning of your past, which would have it be small. So I really want to encourage you to literally schedule time to stop and put in your calendar an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours, a sacred block of time that can't be interrupted by anything, because what could be more important than sitting down and getting concentrated on answering the question, no matter where you are in your life now, how do I want to use the rest of it? Okay, big idea number 3. Goals are weak. Now, I intentionally make that a little provocative, but it's true. In comparison to a decision, goals are weak. The difference is that goals leave the door open for the possibility of not, or the possibility of what we call failure, whereas a decision doesn't. When I'm all in, okay, which is synonymous with decided, infinitely committed. When I'm infinitely committed or all in on something, when I've decided upon it, the possibility of it not happening is non-existent in my field of consciousness, which has me be amazing, okay, which has the action that I take not only be immediate, but it has it be masterful, and it has it be sustainable. And these are the immediate, masterful, and sustainable. Those are good. These are the ingredients that we want. These are the characteristics of the action that I want to be taking as I'm creating my life. So, so make some goals. I like to say that goals are decisions awaiting their upgrade, or their goals are decisions in their incubation stage. Okay? So make goals. Goals are good to start with, okay? So for example, I recently made a goal that I was going to get into the best physical condition of my life. And I sat in this very chair, and I created some metrics for that, ways to measure it. And I sat here, and I got like this. And I went inside, and I made a clear decision. I don't know if it took maybe 3 seconds, 10 seconds, I don't know. But the point is that I was absolute. Like, I have a dry erase board over here, and I wrote it down, hire trainer, best shape of my life. After that decision was made, there was zero possibility of it not happening. I mean, you'd have to take my life. And it got done. And the action that I took was immediate. The action that I took was masterful. So start with the goal, and then really truly honor it by upgrading it to a decision. Okay. And watch how different the quality and quantity of your action is. The next big idea, number 4, is after you decide, is to declare it. You know, I know you can't read this page right here, but this is my office. I call it the captain's quarters, and this is where we do all the magic. And I refer to these big old Post-its back here on the doors behind me, because really we're talking about it right now. What the page says is clarity, create the clarity to decide. That's what we just discussed. Now in big idea number 4, we're talking about the second one on that list, which is having the courage, develop the courage to declare. So big idea number 4 is declare it. Declare the decisions that you made to the world proudly, without reluctance. You know, this is a great measure. If you are reluctant to say to anyone ever what you've decided upon, it means you're out of commitment, which we'll talk about later on, what that means to be out of commitment and what to do about it. But there couldn't be a more effective way for like taking the barometric pressure or like checking on whether or not you are still committed or all in on your decisions. I love giving people the challenge. So my trainer, as a matter of fact, just the other day, you know, he wants to be, the other day we met and we were talking about his future, the miraculous life that he's creating. And he shared with me that he wants to be a Hollywood actor. And the first way he said it, though, was interesting. He said, I want to be a B-movie actor. I said, why? So you absolutely do not want to be in Hollywood films. You don't want to be an A-list actor like that. That's what you don't want. And he said, well, no, I guess that would be cool, which is interesting. That's why you don't trust your first answers. He's like, of course I want to be that. I said, okay, well, here's your first assignment. Is go out and start creating opportunities for people to ask you what you do, and boldly declare, say, I'm a Hollywood actor. Occupy that space. So I had him make the decision right here. He made the decision. He took time, he did this, and he got inside and he got clear and committed. He says, I don't care how hard it is. Damn it, consider it done. I am a Hollywood actor. He occupied the space. Now, he didn't wait. Waiting is the #1 mistake, by the way, to creating the life of your dreams. Like in this case, my trainer would be waiting until he gets an audition, or waiting until he gets a role, or waiting until he has a movie out even before he would ever be comfortable being that guy. So declare it. Go out. Have fun with this. This is fun. You go out and say, hey, I'm a Hollywood actor. Wow, that's amazing. I don't recognize you. What films are you in? None. And so how are you an actor if you haven't been in any films? Because I'm not waiting for any films. I'm not waiting for my films to come out to declare that. I'm not waiting for my films to come out. I'm not even waiting to get into a film in order to be that guy. In fact, by occupying that space now and then having the willingness to declare it to the world, I'm accelerating the rate at which you'll be seeing me on the big screens. Solid. Okay, big idea number 5. You got to back that up. You can't chirp if you're not going to go get her done, right? So the last step in those 3 steps over there is the clarity to decide, right? The courage to go boldly declare without reluctance. The third step there is our fifth big idea, which is you gotta have the discipline, which is the mental toughness. You gotta train your brain, because the way that this life unfolds, we have words like adversity. Adversity is a way, I think it's an unintelligent way, but it's a popular way to interpret when things don't go the way you want, right? I like to say there is no such thing as failure. There are only results. I want to be able to interpret every single outcome, all the stuff that happens, right, in response to the action that I take. I want to interpret every single bit of it in an inspired way, in a way that would have me feel pumped. I don't want to see anything as a hazard, a roadblock, a setback. I don't want to choose to interpret things like that. There will be a million things. Our dreams never unfold precisely as we envision them. They unfold better. But I won't experience it that way. If I get all caught up in thinking that when stuff doesn't go the way I thought it would, then that's a problem. And that requires toughness. So you got to get into training your brain. And you have to have the discipline to keep taking the action, to do what it takes in a sustainable way, so that your decision becomes your reality. Now, big idea number 6 is become an emotional warrior. I mentioned earlier, I've mentioned throughout this, state of mind, psychological state, how I feel, or my emotions are critical. I use a formula that I call the freedom formula, which is how I think governs how I feel, or my state, my psychological state. And that's what I want to learn to master, because my emotional state of mind, right, governs how or if I take action, which of course governs what goes on in my world, right? So, for example, if I'm thinking that something's impossible, like my trainer might have been thinking for him to become a Hollywood actor is highly, highly improbable. So then what's the state of mind that accompanies that thinking? It would be probably maybe something like discouragement, doubt, maybe at best some hopefulness, which is weak in comparison to knowing. But after he decided, it was totally different. When he decided that it's done, that I'm not going to be, I am a Hollywood actor, he changed visibly, right? So if I could see the change, obviously the internal change is huge. He elevated his state from whatever the low grade states were that I mentioned to knowing, Knowing, to knowing. So there is, the better I feel, the better I am at everything, which is amazing that we're designed that way as humans. I guess theoretically it could have happened that we evolved in such a way that we're amazing when we're pissed off, but it didn't. We're amazing when we're in elevated states. Again, enthusiasm, right? Entheos, or when I'm inspired, in alignment with my spirit. These are great words. And they're great words because they create greatness. When I choose, operative word, when I choose to exist in those states, then I am amazing. I become amazing at everything, right? Whether sports, business, creating my dream life, being a spouse, or everything. So there's great practice. And here's the practice, okay, on how to become an emotional warrior. It's so simple. It's so simple. I use catch, own, and replace. Okay, catch yourself when you're in a low-grade state. You're feeling anything even remotely uncool. Just heighten your awareness to that, right? Become really, really acutely conscious of your moods throughout the day. And whenever you're feeling anything less than great, say, good catch, right? Take ownership of that by saying, okay, I'm not feeling irritated because of the traffic. I'm feeling irritated because of how I'm interpreting the traffic, which I can revoke right now, can upgrade. And then you replace the thought. In other words, you upgrade the state. So you're getting better at feeling amazing more. Which is like a really good idea, okay? And which is why, of course, it's one of the big ideas. But it's also highly intelligent, okay? Because again, it's not just about feeling great. That alone would be enough. but it gets better, because the better I feel, the better I am at everything, the more likely I am to create my dream life. Okay, big idea number 7, free your mind. I stole that one from The Matrix, from, I forget the guy's name, he was talking to Neo. The practice of mental toughness. I mentioned earlier about conditioning, that as we go through life, we are powerfully educated about our limitations. I'll give you an example. A little girl comes home from school. She's all smiles. She's happy, and her mom sees her and goes, "Oh, honey, look at you. You're so happy. What happened? Did you make a new friend at school today?" And the little girl goes, "No, mommy, no, people at school." She goes, "Oh, okay. You got cupcakes at recess today, didn't you?" And the little girl goes, "No, mommy, no cupcakes." And she goes, "Oh, why are you so happy? You got a perfect score in your spelling quiz." And the little girl goes, "No, mommy, we didn't have a spelling quiz today." And the mom's going, "Well, why are you so happy?" Now, this is a fascinating exchange, because it's actually a loving exchange, right? It's a loving interaction between mom and daughter, right? But there's a powerful, horrible lesson being unconsciously imparted here, which is, honey, you can't just choose happiness. You can't just be in a state of causeless joy. That happened out to exist in that state. So this little girl's learning to wait, right? Learning to wait. So that's a perfect example of the conditioning that we're exposed to over time, that would have us be self-conscious, that would have us wait, that would have, well, you know what? That would have us suffer. The practice of creating your dream life must inherently include the practice daily of freeing your mind from the conditioning of your past, so that you can experience reality as it is, which is perfect, as opposed to through these thick lenses of our conditioning. When I'm capable of doing that, then, well, again, I'm amazing. So, big idea number 8 is live above the O, yo. So what's that mean? Maybe I should draw a little thing here. So if we say that this is the range of possible human emotions, okay? So from low grade to high grade, and right here in the middle is neutral, okay? So this is every possible human emotion, or the range. We have access, you have access right now to the whole program, the whole deal. You could feel anything from infinite suffering to pure neutral to infinite bliss right now, governed only by one thing, which is how are you thinking? How are you interpreting your reality right now? So if we say that that's the full range, now if we turn it this way, suddenly the range, now it looks like the letter I. So I'll just have that stand for interpretation. Okay, I'm going to abbreviate that because the word's too long. Okay, interpretation, that's what this is. This is a range of all the possible ways I could interpret my world, my reality, right? 3 ways, really. There's only 3 ways. 1, low grade, in a way that would have me feel bad. 2nd is neutral, right, which has me feel nothing. Or high grade, which is in a way that would have me feel enthused or inspired, right? So we're going to call this O line. That's the O line. I ruined it. It's the O line. I gave it away. It's the observation line, because it looks like an O. Isn't it amazing how it works out like that? So convenient. So we'll call this the observation line, right? That's where I'm simply observing my reality neutrally, like a scientist. It's just data, like, oh, it's raining out. Oh, I just got rear-ended in my car. I have a flat tire. Or there's a lot of traffic here. Or today is Thursday. It's just data. Until I go, oh, it's Thursday. I love Thursdays. Or there's a Phillies game tonight that I get to watch. So, and I love that. So now I'm interpreting it differently. Or it's Thursday. This stinks because it's not Friday. Isn't it amazing that so many people go through their lives looking forward to Friday? And thank God it's Friday, and it became a restaurant. What a neurotic. That's not miraculous living, by the way. So the practice here is to, I mentioned catch, own, and replace before. You want to replace your thinking. You want to elevate your state so that you get above the O line. I want to be that guy who lives above the O line. I say that truly mentally tough people exist in a perpetual state of self-inquiry. In a perpetual state of self-inquiry. In other words, always asking the question, how am I doing inside right now? What am I doing? How am I using my mind? Am I using it in a way to serve me? How am I feeling? I want to always be living inside those inquiries, because if I discover that I've gone below the O line with low-grade interpretations of my amazing reality, all I got to do is upgrade it, bump it up, live above the O, yo. Okay, big idea number 9. All in has a short shelf life. I referenced this before. Here's another great mantra. The nature of commitment is that it goes away. It's kind of catchy. It's like rhythmical. The nature of commitment is that it goes away. That's important. Everything. This whole universe, another one of the things that I learned back in the day when I was studying astrophysics, is that it's characterized by impermanence. Everything fades. Okay? Everything transforms in and out of being. Everything changes form. Nothing lasts. Right? Okay, so that's cool. So, it could be cool. It's up to you. Based on, depending on how you want to interpret that, I highly recommend that you interpret it as cool, as opposed to anything else, like scary or threatening. So everything's going away. This day, this meeting, okay, this course, this conversation is going away. We're at number 9 of 10. We're close to the end. This day is going away, right? Our lives are going away. Everything's going away. Here's a glass that was made by someone that's going to go away at some point. Everything's going away. Everything's passing. So are your commitments. So are these powerful decisions that you made. You get all in with something, right? It's funny. I tell people, I tell my trainer, this part of the physical transformation that I made in the past 8 months is profound for me. And I lost like 45 pounds, and I'm stronger than I've ever been, and it's amazing. So the decision that I made, I told you I sat here and I made that decision like back in August, and how many times do you think I made that decision? And it's in the thousands. It's in the thousands. I made the decision every day, of course, every morning. Of course, but then I'm sure there were workouts where I made that decision like 150 times, because every time I would start complaining about how hard this exercise was, I would catch that, own it, and then upgrade it, right, with a higher grade interpretation, which was in this case the redeclaration of my decision. So I tell myself as I'm like doing these burpees that are hard as hell. And I'm sweating. And I'm actually having these thoughts. I cannot do 15 more of these. I cannot do that. And I would think, that's not serving me. All right, let's upgrade that. And I'm getting in the best shape of my life. Amazing how much stronger I found myself being when I changed that story. So just know that, it doesn't matter how powerfully you've declared that declaration is going away. That decision is gone tomorrow. So what's it mean? It doesn't mean much, but it means one thing that's actually kind of important. What it is you got to redecide. That's it. You just got to redeclare, get back all in tomorrow, and do it as if you're doing it for the first time ever. That's huge. Now, finally, big idea number 10. Just because I'm a tool, I like to throw wrenches into things. None of this is necessary. Big idea is, oh, by the way, you really don't have to do any of this. Just saying. So then I could say that to someone and they would respond like, so what? Why'd you waste all my time? Why go through all this? And the answer is because you can. See, we got into the big party, right? Going back to the very beginning, we were a mathematical impossibility. We're miracles. We got into the party. Everything's perfect. It's been unfolding flawlessly for 15 billion years, right? It's kind of a good deal. And so that means everything is. All the things that we consider to be tragic. Hell, I mean, you think about the most cataclysmic event in the cosmos is supernova. It's a star going kaboom, right? Where you're sitting in 4.5 billion years is going to be a big old fireball. Our sun is at half-life. It's going to go boom. The most cataclysmic event in the cosmos, a star exploding, is also the only reason that we're alive, because in those chemical reactions, in that event, are born the building blocks, the heavy elements, carbon and oxygen, building blocks of life. It all makes sense. Everything's miraculous. So we really don't need to do anything to make it miraculous. You can't. It already is. You are. You're perfect as you are, always have been. Can't be more. How can you be more perfect? You're perfect. So then you might say, okay, so why would I go to any effort to do anything then? And my only answer is because you can, because it's fun to. I mean, if you have a better idea, then do that, you know? But so in other words, really, what the point that I'm making here is don't be driven. One of the things in our Western culture that's really toxic is this addiction to not enough. Is the belief that I need to be more, have more, be further down the road, like that where I am is inadequate somehow. Like that somehow, how I am and how my life is somehow inadequate. That is pure neurosis. It's a big lie. You are exactly where you should be right now. You don't need to do any of this in order to experience infinite bliss. You don't need to. You get to. All right? So I'll wrap this up with this. Creating your miraculous life, how paradoxical would it be to have that be driven by fear? Like for fear that my life won't have been meaningful, or that I will not have been successful. It's nonsense. Have it be driven by enthusiasm, right? By the God within. Okay, folks, I hope that you've found this valuable. This has been fun. This is my first Entheos Academy class. I love that you joined it, and I'll look forward to seeing you in many more in the near future. Create miracles.